Hi, I ate a tin of evil baked beans, and now everyone calls me a demonic tutor. Ralph.
Ew, oh my god. Oh my god.
I finally made you laugh. I finally made you laugh. I'm so
Oh
happy.
god. Hi, I'm your sexy, reliable form of removal in mono white swords to plow me. Jazz.
It's been a long lockdown, huh?
You know what? That's not fair. We I don't even
It's
have a response to that.
yeah. Well, when you're this deprived, you just, start a podcast. That's what everyone does.
Well, of course, yeah.
Welcome to the Partner Commanders podcast.
Hi, welcome.
Yes, so we are a very gay couple who love to talk about Commander, and this week we are going to talk about deck techs. So we have a spreadsheet, and
Oh, we love spreadsheets. We excel at
we do. We
spreadsheets.
excel, well, Jazz excels at spreadsheets. And we have two columns in which there is a color pairing and there is a theme. And we roll randomly and we roll twice and we get a randomly generated deck theme and deck color combination. And we have to brew a deck with those two pieces.
We're sourcing the deck themes from ETH Rec, so a lot of those sort of themes are going to be showing up. But we also have our own fun, spicy themes to throw into the mix.
Yes. But the themes this week are pretty straightforward. So, Jazz, would you like to tell everybody?
Well, for this episode, we already rolled our themes ahead of time, but at the end of this episode, we'll roll for next week's. I don't know how often we're going to do this,
Let's
but
say
we're going to roll
month.
at the end of we'll roll at the end of this episode to dictate what that theme will be. So, I mean, viewers at home can play along too and show us what they build if they want to play with our theme.
Ooh,
Um,
that's a great idea.
right? Community
Yeah,
engagement.
get involved.
Hello.
Yeah, and if you do, tag us and use the hashtag Deck Mashup Challenge.
Yes, we love that. We just came up with that. We
Yeah, hashtag
we
Drag
are
Race.
we are social media mavens.
Speaking of drag races, Jazz, would you like to tell us about your
Oh
deck
my
theme?
god, that was actually perfect. I'm actually very proud of you for that one.
Hmm.
I was given, or I guess it was randomly given to me by the RNG gods, the color combination of Naya, which is red, green, and white, and the theme for vehicles.
Broom broom, get out in the car.
Brum brum.
So, Jazz, who did you choose for this Naya Vehicles extravaganza?
Okay, so there's a lot of options, but really there's only like one clear option just because of the utility this commander provides and just like thematically how fun it would be. I chose, drum roll please, Samut, voice of dissent.
Ooh, yes.
Right? Yes, we stand. So I chose Samut, voice of dissent, for multiple reasons. One, it gives other creatures you control have haste. So the turn that you play either your crew or your vehicle, you'll be able to use them instantly. You don't have to wait around for your car to, ready up. Another reason, she has flash, double strike, vigilance, and haste herself. So in a pinch, if she's in your command zone, you can flash her in, pilot one of your or crew one of your vehicles and have a blocker, or she herself can also block because she has vigilance. Oh wait, no. Yeah, you can declare her as a blocker, tap her in response, and then crew one of your vehicles for an additional blocker. Also, having double strike makes her an incredible blocker. And third reason why she's amazing is because of her activated ability. Is if you pay white, tap her, you can untap another target creature.
I love it. That's really really cool. I've built three color vehicles before, but I think that a Naya combination sounds really interesting, and I'm really excited to see where you went with this.
Thank you. I'm excited too. I have divided this deck tech into one, two, three, four categories. Category one is just going to be, let's talk about the vehicles. The prompt was for vehicles, and I'm going to give you vehicles. There are 17 total in this deck. However, technically only 15. The other two are Mirage Mirror and Sculpting Steel, because you can
Ooh,
double up on your vehicles by creating a copy of vehicles that you already have on the battlefield. Also, they just provide incredible utility. You don't need another vehicle, but your opponent has played sort of Feast and Famine. Make a copy of that,
Oh, that's really cool.
right? The synergy.
Yeah, so what non copying vehicles are you running in this deck?
Okay, so I have Parhelion the second, or
Yes.
yeah, Parhelion is that
Yeah.
Parhelion the second, or is that Parhelion two?
I like to say the second, it makes it sound less silly.
I guess it's Parhelion two.
I mean, like, it's like, is it like Parhelion 2 Electric Boogaloo?
Maybe. So, well, we have Parhelion the second, which is an 8 cost vehicle. It's 6 and 2 white for a 5/5. It has flying, first strike, and vigilance. And whenever Parhelion 2 attacks, create 2/4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance that are attacking. And it has a crew of 4. Just in case that you need a reminder of what crew is, you have to tap any number of creatures you control with total power X. In this case, it would be 4 or more, and then the vehicle becomes a artifact creature until end of turn. So it's a big cost. It's an 8 drop. I think it's the biggest spell that I have in this entire list, but it provides so much value. And the benefit of having green in your deck is ramp, ramp, ramp. So you can get Parhelion 2 out sooner than you would anticipate, and it's just perfect for that. I don't want to talk about every single vehicle in the deck, obviously, because I don't have that much time to talk your ear off. But another one that I really enjoy in the vehicles list category would be the Peace Walker Colossus.
Oh, nice, nice.
Peace Walker Colossus is a 3 cost 6/6, and it has an activated ability of 1 and a white. Another target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, and it itself has crew 4. So you don't have any creatures out, but you have all these vehicles just sitting around because someone board wiped, but all your vehicles were saved. That's fine. Peace Walker Colossus will be able to turn all of your vehicles into creatures for you to attack with or to block with. Do whatever you need to do to win, Henny.
Yes, Sissy that Peace Walk.
Oh my god.
The Colossus.
Colossus.
Sis.
So the next category for this deck tech is something that I thought would be beneficial, and it's anthems. The reason,
The Party Rock Anthems?
no, just anthems to boost your creatures so that they're stronger,
Faster?
harder, better, faster, stronger.
Yeah, that's what I was leading up to.
So the reason why I included anthems is because this deck is made primarily for the vehicles. And so you're not going to have a ton of creatures able to pilot them or to crew them. The thinking here is to have the creatures that you do have that are beneficial for your board to boost up all your other creatures simultaneously so that you can get to the crews faster. And also, you can provide other buffs for your board state. In this category, I have 3 standouts that I wanted to talk about. The first one is Jor Kadeen the Prevailer. He is a 5 drop, 3 red and white for a 5/4 first strike, and he has Metalcraft, which provides creatures you control get +3/0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts.
I actually love Jorkadine. He's like one of the very first like legendary creatures that I had a hold of, like way back when the Scars of Mirrodin block was out. So I'm really excited that he made it into your deck.
Right. So the cool thing about Jorkadim is obviously we're running vehicles, so we have a lot of artifacts on the battlefield, which will provide that metalcraft. If you just have, say, a Wood Elves, who is just a 1/1 that came in to get you some land, now you have a 4/1 who is able to crew one of the bigger vehicles in the list. That way, you have options.
Mhm.
The next anthem is going to be Elish Norn Grand Cenobite.
Yes, Queen. She's giving us fashion.
We love Elish Norn Grand Cenobite. She's a 7 drop, 5 and 2 white for a 4/7 with vigilance. She reads other creatures you control get +2/+2, and creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. Now, in most decks that I've ever come across with an Elish Norn, they're usually going for the -2/-2 to kind of wipe everyone's board out. And the +2/+2 is kind of there to buff up their board too a little bit. But she is primarily in our deck because of that +2/+2. The -2/-2 is great, clears out the board, we love it. But the +2/+2 is where it's at for us because not only will it buff up our creatures that crew our vehicles, but it'll also buff up our vehicles themselves.
Do you have tempered steel in this deck?
It is not in this deck.
Oh, interesting. What was the thinking behind that? Because it cares a lot about artifact creatures, and vehicles turn into artifact creatures. It's a pretty efficient anthem.
Because I did not think about it.
Oh, well, maybe you should give it a shot.
that that is why it is not in the deck because I did not think about it.
Oop, oop.
Ooh. But you know what? I could very well put it in the deck in the future. And the final card for that I wanted to highlight for the anthem effects is Audric Lunarch Marshall.
Oh, keywords, 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 keywords.
Yes, so Audric Lunarch Marshall is a 4-drop for a 3/3. He's 3 and a white, and his card reads: At the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn if a creature you control has first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. That's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but basically, if one of your creatures has a keyword, all your creatures have that keyword. And the benefit of that is that it happens every combat step. It's
We
not just
love to
your
see
own.
it.
And just initially with our own commander, we have double strike, vigilance, and haste. I mean, granted, Samut was already giving everyone haste,
Love
but
it.
now she's giving everyone double strike and vigilance. And then with all the other vehicles out, you're probably going to have flying on the battlefield. You're probably going to have trample on the battlefield. Audric makes your vehicles into freaking transformers.
Monster trucks.
Like, they are going to slay.
Love it.
In my next category, I have kind of just lumped up ramp and draw altogether. It's your basic kind of standard setup for ramp and draw,
Mm-hmm.
except I kind of split it more to lean more towards ramp than I have lean towards draw. My
Mm-hmm.
ramp package is running around 12 cards and my draw is running about 8 cards,
Cool, cool.
but there's a little bit more overlap because some of the vehicles draw cards, but I didn't include them into the draw category.
I was just gonna ask you if you have SRAM in the deck.
Yes, Saram is definitely in the deck, and he is one of the cards that I wanted to highlight. I mean, he's already going to give you a draw whenever you play a vehicle. There's not that many auras and equipments, which is fine, but there's enough vehicles that you can get good use out of Saram. The other forms of draw that I have are Oran Frostfang, Mangara the Diplomat, and Toski, Bearer of Secrets.
Ooh, the squirrel, the new indestructible squirrel.
Yes. So Orin Frostfang and Toski's kind of serve the similar purpose. They're very much like Blue's Coastal Piracy or Bident of Thassa, that whenever you deal combat damage with a creature, you draw a card. And we are hoping to get into a lot of combat damage with my vehicles. And then we have Mangara, the Diplomat, to be there more as a defensive option. So if things aren't kind of going our way into where we're headed, Mangara is there to kind of supplement that. The reason that I've leaned more towards ramp than I have on draw is because we've got big spells. We talked about Parhelion 2, it's an 8 drop. We have Elish Norn, who's a 7 drop. So we need to have fast mana as fast as we can.
Broom, broom.
Brum brum. For our final category, it is utility. Cards that don't have a specific purpose but kind of just help in the overall synergy of the deck and also just our overall game winners. It's kind of straightforward. You want to play your vehicles, you want to play a lot of creatures, crew your vehicles, swing out.
Nice,
But
nice.
for utility, it's kind of stuff that would help in that effort. First off, we have Quest for Renewal, which is a 1 and a green enchantment, 2-drop enchantment, that reads: Whenever a creature you control becomes tapped, you may put a quest counter on Quest for Renewal. As long as there are 4 or more quest counters on Quest for Renewal, untap all creatures you control during each other player's untap step. So I included Quest for Renewal in here because that way you can crew, attack on your turn, and then once you've gotten enough quest counters on Quest for Renewal, you will have them up and ready to block in case you need to for other players' turns. It's pseudo vigilance, and also there are some mana dorks, so it'll help in that effect. Another card that I've included is Giant Ox, who is really just the MVP of this deck, really.
Yes.
Right?
And It is the Lunar New Year, and it's the year of the ox.
Oh my gosh, yes, it is perfect. This was intentional. We covered Giant Ox in our Call Time episode, but if you don't know, Giant Ox is a 2-drop for a 0/6 Ox. He reads Giant Ox crews vehicles using its toughness rather than its power. And of course, if I have Giant Ox, I've got the Colossal Plow. Don't worry, it's in the deck. Giant Ox is such an MVP because it alone can crew your Parhelion too. Like, I'm just imagining this Ox piloting this gigantic flying vessel that is releasing angels. It's a hilarious thing to think about.
Meow.
Exactly. And then as far as win cons, we have our number one, Overwhelming Stampede. Once we have a critical mass of creatures and vehicles, we can just stomp them out with everything we've got. And then we've got a newer card as well from Call Time, which is Reckless Crew.
Awesome, awesome.
It's a 4-drop sorcery for 3 and a red, and it reads create X 2/1 red dwarf berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of vehicles you control plus the number of equipment you control. For each of those tokens, you may attach an equipment you control to it. So, once we've gotten to a critical mass of vehicles, we can just get a ton of tokens of dwarves out just for an extra oomph of an attack. If we've got our commander out, they all have haste, and it's just a great way to win, just overrunning them with
That
dwarves.
sounds very thematic and very exciting.
Thank you. So that is Samut Govrum, my Naya
Mm,
vehicles deck tech. If you're interested in this deck, we will provide Architect links for you in either social media or in the YouTube for something like
mm-hmm.
that. I'm not
Absolutely.
entirely sure how it's happening, but let's move on to Ralph. What have you got for us?
Me, little old me.
Yeah, what did you roll?
I rolled for my color. I got Jeskai, which is blue, red, and white. And for my theme, I got Spellslinger. So immediately, those two go hand in hand together. Jeskai Spellslinger is very powerful, very potent, as we all know. We've all seen the
And very
Kaikar.
popular.
Exactly. We've all seen the Kaikars. We've all seen the Elshas of the Infinites. I kind of had the work done for me. If I were to do a very straightforward Jeskai Spellslinger deck. However, I did not do that. And the commander that I chose for this deck is Sevin the Chronoclasm.
Ooh.
And Sevin, yeah, Sevin is a legendary creature human wizard with 2 power and 2 toughness. He costs 2, a blue, a red, and a white. And he reads prevent all damage that would be dealt to Sevin the Chronoclasm. And whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard each turn, copy that spell and you may choose new targets for the copy. So, traditionally, Sevin cares a lot about flashback and casting spells from your graveyard, which is something that this deck does do. But in conjunction with that, I wanted to monopolize on Savin's first ability, which prevents all damage dealt to him. So I actually have leaned in on a really heavy damage spell slinging type of deck. So the deck has 12 or 13 different damage based board wipes, including Star of Extinction and Blasphemous Act and Molten Disaster and all of those. So I want to deal damage to the board as much as possible, and I want to monopolize on that damage. So this deck is probably secretly a Firesong and Sunspeaker deck or a Soulfire Grandmaster deck because I want to be gaining lots of life from these damage-based board wipes. And all the while, Savin is kept alive from his ability, which allows me to generate card advantage from my graveyard by recasting all of the flashback spells.
Okay, but wait. If it's secretly a Firesong and Sunspeaker slash Soulfire Grandmaster deck, if they're on the battlefield and then you cast one of these board wipes, are they protected too?
They will if I equip them with protection such as Darksteel Plate, which grants them indestructibility, or Boros Charm, which I can cast to make them indestructible if I have a big explosive turn planned. However, I am able to also pick and choose the amount of damage that I do with X costs. So I'm also able to navigate around it so that maybe if I want to keep them alive, I can go low but still gain a lot of advantage.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And in that suite of spells, I also have to include Brash Taunter and Stuffy Doll
Oh my god, I
because
love
they are
those.
both yeah, so they are both indestructible creatures that when they are dealt damage, you can redirect that damage. Stuffy Doll does it to one player of your choice that you choose when it enters the battlefield, but Brash Taunter can redirect that damage anywhere. So he is definitely the more powerful of the pair,
Hmm.
but either of them are key pieces when I want to start spreading the damage and spreading the love.
Yeah, for sure.
So that is like the core principle of the deck. So I knew pretty early on that that was the direction I wanted to go, and I just had to kind of figure out how to strike that right balance and how to really make it happen. So for the ramp in the deck, it's a pretty straightforward artifact-based ramp package. None of the artifacts are above CMC2 because I want to keep everything low to the ground and efficient. But I do have a Curious Homunculus in the deck, which is a 1/1 homunculus for 2, and you can tap him to add a colorless to your mana pool, and you only spend it to cast instants and sorcery spells. And if you have three more or more instants or sorcery spells in your graveyard, he flips into Voracious Reader, which has prowess, 3 power, 4 toughness, and instants and sorceries I cast cost 1 less to cast. So in the early game, he's going to give me mana advantage for my spells, and in the late game, he's going to become a beater that also reduces the cost of all my spells, which I am a big fan of.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great addition.
Yeah, I love that little guy. So for the card draw package in the deck, it's pretty hefty. I want to make the most out of the blue magic that I get in Jeskai. So I have a lot of 2 mana spells that either have flashback, jumpstart, or in some instances retrace that I can play for cheap, draw 1 or 2 cards, but then also play from my graveyard, which Savin will copy so that I draw more cards off of that. So there aren't a lot of permanent based card draw engines in this deck, which I think is perfectly fine. When I've been playtesting it, I've been able to draw a lot of cards. I also have looting effects. Cards like Faithless Looting are a huge help because draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, and flashback it, which lets you do that twice. So that's a lot of fun. But also something that a friend of mine, Angelo, also known as the Jest Guy, pointed me towards Swans of.
Wait, you got outside help?
Yeah.
I didn't know we were allowed to get outside help. Okay.
Well, Jest Guy is really out of my wheelhouse, and Angelo, he's the Jest Guy. Like I needed an expert's eye.
That's fair. That's fair. I just for
Yeah.
I guess for reference, I'll get some help for the next one.
I mean, you absolutely should because, like, normally when we're deck building, we try and bounce off of each other, but we kind of want to keep it secret, so we kind of like surprise each other with what we've built. So, if you feel like you want a second pair of eyes on it, feel free to, run it by somebody else.
Okay, continue. What did the Jess guy tell us?
So, Angelo told me about this amazing card way back from the Lorewinds block, and that is Swans of Bryn Argal. And now, Swans of Bryn Argal is a creature bird spirit. It has 4 power and 3 toughness. It costs 2 and 2 hybrid Azorius, and it is flying. And it reads, if a source would deal damage to Swans of Bryn Argal, prevent that damage, the source's controller draws cards equal to the damage prevented this way. So all of my damage-based board wipes become really potent draw spells with Swans of Bryn Argal on the battlefield. It'll survive all of my damage sweepers as well, and I'll be able to draw 13 cards off of my Blasphemous Act. So,
Hold,
you
hold on,
know,
hold on, hold on. Read that again. If a source would deal damage to it, prevented.
yep, it prevents the damage, and I draw cards equal to the amount of damage prevented.
Oh, okay, got it. I was just gonna start thinking like you could start blocking with it, and no, the person that attacked you would draw cards if you blocked with it.
Yes, exactly. But I am primarily going to be the one dealing damage to it, hopefully. If somebody else wants to deal damage to it, they can, but I'm definitely going to be the one making the most use out of it. So I'll be able to turn my Star of Extinction into draw 20 cards.
Because you need to draw 20 cards.
Absolutely. Of course, I do have Reliquary Tower and Thought Vessel in here so that I don't have to worry about discarding. But even if I don't, I can just discard my flashback cards and no worries. The objective of this deck is to try and draw as many cards with my cantrips or my bird spirit, and draw into Fire Song and Sunspeaker or Soulfire Grandmaster. and in addition, Stuffy Doll and Brash Taunter. I want them all out on the battlefield so that I can start wrathing the board. Well, not wrathing, but blasting everything in sight so that redirect damage. I can copy those spells and I can draw cards off of them and hopefully finish out my opponents with a lot of mass damage, but also with a lot of life gain, which is why in the deck I have also included Aetherflux Reservoir.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so it works twofold because I am going to be gaining a fair bit of life off of my strategy, but I'm also going to be casting a lot of spells. So it seems like a pretty reliable win con. This deck doesn't run any tutors, so a lot of this is just going to be pretty casual and pretty fun and just going to roll with whatever I draw. The deck also does have a few copy spells just in order to make the most of my card advantage and my damage spells. So I've got Twinning Staff in here, which came in the Calamax precon in Ikoria.
Hmm.
And it reads, if you would copy a spell one or more times, instead copy it that many times plus an additional time, and I may choose new targets for the copy. And it's an artifact that costs 3, and it has an activated ability of 7, and it just lets you copy target instant or sorcery. I also do have the War of the Spark Ral Zarek in this deck. In case my damage life linking strategy isn't working, I will be able to use the infinite spell copy combo that those two cards can provide as a backup. It's not something that I am going to be specifically looking for to do in the deck, but the game will have to end eventually, and a little bit of infinite combo never hurt anybody. Something I do think this deck falls short on, purely just because of my own deck building style. This deck does not have any counter spells. I dedicated all of it to the damage sweepers and the life gain cards and the spell copy stuff. So at the end of it, there weren't really any room for counter spells. But
Not even a pyroblast? Red elemental blast?
not even a pyroblast. Sorry about it, but I'm perfectly okay with that. The interaction in the deck is still there. It's just in a different form. So I can still copy spells that my opponents cast to make the most of them. But I also have the card Mass Diminish, which turns all of one opponent's creatures into 1 power, 1 toughness creatures. And it also has flashback, and it only costs 2. So if my opponents are big stompy green players or they're doing something really crazy and going tall, I can play that card and then wipe their board anyway, even if they are going with really strong creatures that I might not be able to deal with normally. Some of the big damage board spells that I have, of course, we all know Star of Extinction and Blasphemous Act. They're common big red damage spells, but I also have the spell Aurelia's Fury,
Oh, that one's a
which
cool one.
is it's an X, a red and a white for an instant, and Aurelia's Fury deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. Tap each creature dealt damage this way, and players dealt damage this way can't cast non-creature spells this turn. So it is a big, wide damage spell, but it also taps down creatures, and it also kind of silences your opponents, like an effect similar that you see in Hope of Girapur. So you kind of want to time this properly so that you get your bang for your buck. So you deal loads of damage and gain loads of life. You can shut down an opponent's board and maybe swing in with some creatures, but also maybe somebody's going off and you need to just bop them for 3 so that you just deal 1 damage to them and they can't cast non-creature spells anymore.
Yeah, that's totally awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I also have Molten Disaster, which is an X and 2 red, but it has kicker for 1 red, and if it's kicked, it gains split second, and it deals X damage to every creature that doesn't have flying and every player. So I'm a big fan of the damage sweepers that also deal damage to players because I really want to whittle down those life totals while also bumping mine up at the same time. And of course, it would not be a spell slinging deck in red and white without
I
Sunforger.
love to see it.
Sunforger is just the quintessential, uh, you know, hammer throwing, spell getting equipment that any red and white deck that has a large number of instants and sorceries should be running. And I can also actually grab a few of my damage sweepers with Sunforger. Cards like Anger of the Gods, which only costs 3, and also Rolling Trembler, which is a flashbacking damage sweeper that deals 2 damage to everything without flying, and that only costs 3 as well. So I can equip Sunforger to any one of my creatures and then unequip it and then get my damage going if I haven't drawn into any of those spells. I really like the direction that I took this deck in. It is definitely not like a classic spell slinging deck.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
still do run like cards that care about instants and sorceries. I'm still the count is incredibly high. I think it's like 20 something instants and like 13 sorceries. I've got about like 15 flashback cards or so. And most of those are the card draw spells. I do have a Sphinx Revelation in this deck as well, for the card draw and the life gain aspects. And also, maybe I can copy it a few times. And it's really great if Fire Song and Sunspeaker are out, so I'll be able to deal targeted damage with it as well. The goal of the deck is just gain life, deal damage, draw cards. And it's a lot of fun from what I can see.
So would you say that your deck is pretty reliant on Savine?
No, I would say it is actually much more heavily reliable, yeah, much more heavily reliant on the key creatures in the 99. So Soulfire, Grandmaster, Firesong and Sunspeaker, Stuffy Doll, and Brash Taunter. I would say that is one of the downfalls of the deck. That if you exile or destroy any of those creatures, you basically shoot me in the foot. Probably gonna have to just dig for that Rouse Eric combo if I am put in that situation. But hopefully, I'm able to at least splash some damage around before that happens.
I mean, yeah.
Like this deck doesn't run any counter spells, so I can't counter removals really. Like the only thing that could save me would be the Boros Charm. But this deck also doesn't really run any tutors apart from Sunforger. So like I'll have to be drawing into those key spells. I might play a game and never draw them and just be dealing damage and drawing lots of cards, which, is a pretty is it kind of direction. I wouldn't say this is like super optimized or competitive by any standards. I'd probably put it on like a 5 or a 6, maybe a 7 because of the one infinite combo in it, but I would purely just be stumbling into it, and maybe there's something in this deck that I haven't even noticed yet that could be a really cool combo or synergy. I know a lot of Firesong and Sunspeaker decks run the Spiritualized combo, where Firesong and Sunspeaker deals damage to something, but when it deals damage to something, Spiritualized will gain you life, and that will trigger Firesong and Sunspeaker again. So that's just an infinite loop of damage and gaining life. But considering that they're not my commander, I don't want to have like 1 2 card combo in my deck that I can't tutor for, that like wouldn't really do much by itself.
So you're just like heavily reliant on getting the draw so that you get to your key pieces.
Yeah, yeah, but the card draw to ramp ratio is actually pretty high. Yeah, I would say it's pretty like inverse to what is in your Naya deck. I have maybe like 15 or 16 different card draw spells, and I only have like 8 ramp cards because the deck is pretty low to the ground.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my Jeskai spell slinging deck. Jazz, what did you think? What do you think? Would you play
I think
this?
it's a really cool deck. It's an interesting take. I like the interactions that you're going for. I've always wanted to make like, well, I've always wanted Soulfire Grandmaster to be a legendary creature because I think that that's like a great commander in and of
Yeah.
itself. And if anyone actually like ever played against me and wanted to have that as their commander, I'd be totally okay with it because I would want to do
Oh
that.
yeah, completely. Like the my went into this deck tech thinking that like, man, I wish Soulfire Grandmaster was a legendary creature so that I could
Hmm.
make that deck, which is why like the deck is basically built around it as if it were. I'm just kind of monopolizing on Savin's flashback synergies. And I mean, like Soulfire Grandmaster also kind of has that same kind of synergy. So like with its activated ability, really, I could swap them out if somebody wanted to.
Right. I think that it's a very interesting take on the prompt, and I'm like super impressed by it.
Thank you.
Well, overall, I really enjoyed your deck. I'd love to actually see it in action. Maybe we should like play test it one of these days.
That would
Did
be
you
really
have any
cool.
thoughts about my Samut deck?
I think it's really cool. Like you remember when I built my Ruhan vehicles deck,
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely see a lot of intersections going over there. But I think your deck definitely benefits from having green a lot more than my deck would have had with blue. I mean, both green and blue are great, but I really like the Naya angle. It really just does support a better aggro strategy, which I think is good for vehicles because they are often very powerful bodies when you are able to crew them. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I enjoy that Samut. the way that I built it, or the way that I build a lot of my decks these days, is I don't want it to heavily rely on the commander
Yeah.
because commander tax becomes very taxing, obviously. And so
Yeah.
she's great if she's on the battlefield, but if she's not, I want the deck to still be able to function.
Yeah, completely. I agree. I agree. Savin like definitely isn't a key vital piece to how this deck works. I do sometimes build commander decks with the commander being very heavily focused, but I would build like with that in mind and make sure that my commander is well protected.
All right, so shall we roll up for next deck mashup?
Okay. So we have our spreadsheet open and we are going to pull up a random number generator. So, do you want to roll for me?
Okay, I have rolled for your color. Wait, am I doing your color and your theme?
Yeah. Do my color and my theme.
Okay, so for your color combination, it is a 27, which is no black.
No
This is four
black.
colors. Four color, no black.
Gay dads.
Yes.
Gay dads. Okay, no black.
And your theme is rolling right now. Ooh, what's this? It's Gay Dad's Artifacts.
Gay dads artifacts. Okay. Kineo Santiro got some toys. I'm here for it.
Yes.
Okay, no black. No black artifacts. I'm into it. Okay, let's roll for you, my love. So first, it's a 32 sided dice. Oh, that's a 28. So that is no red.
No red. Okay, okay.
We're rolling high on the colors. Haven't got anything lower than 3 colors. And so that's a 30.
Oh god, these are Atraxa colors. This is gonna be a powerful deck. Oh no.
Oh, well. Okay, so I rolled a 26. So your theme is mutate.
Oh my god, this is gonna be so much fun.
Attracts a
This is gonna
mutate.
be so much fun.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to be so much fun.
Wow. Okay. This is exciting. Okay. Yeah, so we are going to go away and build our decks in secret from each other. And we will come back in our next deck mashup episode and discuss those decks. I'm really excited.
We have our deck assignments. We have no black artifacts, and then we have no red mutate. If you want to participate in any way, shape, or form, feel free and show us what you do. We'd love to see it, and I might steal your
Yes.
ideas.
Yeah, if you do have any ideas that you think would be really cool for these decks, please tweet at us and we will take a look and it might even get into the deck. So if you did that, we'd be very, very grateful. But even if you just listen and are just as excited as we are, that's great too.
Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to find us on Twitter, we're at PartnerPod, and you can also catch our episodes on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. You can also comment if you want. I don't know if people have commented.
Any engagement. Nobody's commented yet, but
You
that's
know
just
what?
because
That's okay.
we've just left them speechless.
Yeah, that's okay. But
All 8
um
viewers.
you know what? We're starting small. This is a process.
Yes, but
Guys.
we're having a good time and that's what matters.
And where can they find you?
Me, little old me. You can find me at Ralph Does Magic on Twitter. I tweet a lot about magic, politics, and art. If you want to follow me there, please feel free. And Jazz, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter at Jazzworth, and I talk about Drag Race and gay stuff and magic and nerdy stuff and all sorts of fun.
um, thank you for listening. Until next time. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody. It was fun.
Yeah.